the people, by the people. For the culture.
Peace. Jumbo. Welcome to the Vital Hoops podcast right here on Black Power Media Reloaded. My name is Fernando Cardenas, aka International XB. I am your host, and this is episode 72. We have an amazing guest today, as always. Our guest today is an active organizer and political activist. He's a poet, and he's an assistant professor, deputy chair, and history committee coordinator in the Social and Behavioral Sciences Department at Medgar Evers College. Our guest has held leadership positions with organizations such as the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, the Black is Back Coalition, and the Black Autonomy Federation. He serves as the chief administrator of We Charge Colonialism Media and is a member of the Claim Malcolm X Day Committee, Philadelphia Peace Park, and Curbfest for Political Prisoners. Our guest today is my Ndugu from the Rise Up International Morning Show, Dr. Ikemba Ojore. Ikemba, welcome to the Vital Hoops podcast. How you doing?
Hey, all is good. Happy to be here, brother. How are you?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to have you on the show. You know what I mean? We Rise Up International Morning Show connection. All of the comrades been here on the Vital Hoop, so you the last one, so they say the last shall be the first.
Indeed, man. It's been in the making though, so
No doubt.
I'm glad we having this conversation.
Yeah, we had to make it happen. Shout out to all of the co-hosts on the Rise Up Morning Show on Black Power Media. Listen, man, we spoke a little bit off camera. There was a plethora of ways, this conversation could have gone, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
we chose to focus on Philly, the city of Philadelphia, because obviously you being from Philly, and me,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, I went to high school in Jersey, and a lot of my friends were from Philly. So I ended up going a lot to Philly, and I definitely got a lot of love for the city of Philadelphia, and Philly definitely has a strong, Black radical tradition, a lot of history, so as African people, it's important to focus on different places once in a while, see what's going on. So this is the perfect occasion, you know what I mean, for us to focus a little bit on Philadelphia. I wanted to see, you know what I mean? I wanted to elaborate a bit on the city and its Black radical tradition. So we definitely going to get into that. Before we do that, I want to make everybody make sure you like, share, subscribe. You know what I mean? This video, and also make sure you go over to We Charge Colonialism. See what the comrade Ikemba, Natasha, Frank, see what they got going on over there. Always some great shows. I got a chance to check out a couple lately. Really good work y'all doing over there, man, at We Charge Colonialism. So if you can tell the listeners real quick what We Charge Colonialism is about.
Yes. Appreciate it, Ndugu. So We Charge Colonialism. We're a Pan-African anti-colonial think tank. And I think even you think about what think tanks do, and we're not just a think tank, we're a think and do tank as well. But when you think about the function of a think tank, is to do research and put out data, put out information that can have some influence on policy, has some influence on education, has some influence as far as like what our children are learning in school, and just have some influence on economics, so just the political economy in general. But for us, we don't necessarily want to influence government policy. Our thing is to put out data that's going to empower the African community, and influence our policy. So how we govern ourselves and how we interact with others, from our enemies and to our, friends. Unless you are like with Dr. Clark, if you under like Dr. Clark's teaching, Dr. Clark told us we don't have no friends, right? But just how we're going to interact with other people. So what is our agenda? What is our policy? We should have one. And We Charge Colonialism wants to have an influence on what that agenda, what that policy is for the Black community, for the African community. So We Charge Colonialism. We do media, put out articles, put out podcasts, discussing different topics as it pertains to African people. We have a book club where we examine different radical thinkers, African radical thinkers, in history and events. So yeah, that's what we do, and we are continuing to grow.
That's right. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And it's so important what y'all do over there. We charge colonialism. We need it, man, especially with all this, crazy propaganda that our people are constantly getting, from mainstream media and all of that. So that's why it's very necessary what y'all doing. Same with Black Power Media, Reloaded. Same with what the comrade Isaac is doing with the Indigenous Nightmare Network. Go check that out as well. It's all very, very necessary. All right, man. So let's get into it, man. When we talk about Philadelphia, the city of Philly, man, and we talk about Black radical politics, Black radical icons, Black radical history, where would you begin, man? Where would you begin?
Yeah, I definitely would have to go back to the 18th century. I would have to take it all the way back to Richard Allen and Absalom Jones. Richard Allen, Absalom Jones, they're going to start the Philadelphia African Free Society, right? So part of that free African Free Society, mutual aid, society movement that was taking place in the late 18th century, going into the 19th century, during the antebellum period here in the States. And so, Richard Allen is going to start in 1786 is going to start the African Episcopal, the AME, African Methodist Episcopal Church. That's in 1786. But in 1787, Richard Allen, Absalom Jones, along with others, in 1787 is going to start the Philadelphia African Free Society. So I wouldn't say that these are like Black nationalist institutions, but at the same time, you see Africans creating institutions for themselves and absolutely controlled, by Africans. So that was the whole thing, even with the African Methodist Episcopal Church, the ME Church, which was under the control of white folks, didn't give a voice for African people, and so that due to discrimination within that church community, Richard Allen is going to go and make a bold move and start a Black church, and this is going to expand. So you have this established in Philadelphia, and the AME churches are going to spread throughout the United States. So I would definitely start there, right there in Philadelphia, and shows even the impact that it's going to have, not just in Philadelphia, but in Black communities, particularly free Black communities throughout the United States. And it's given the opportunity for Black people to not be dependent, have institutions and people, Africans, who are not dependent on white folks, right? So they sort of have like this independence that didn't really exist amongst the free Black community at that time. And the interesting thing, I think we was talking before we got started about how Black people knew that they were African,
Mm,
and this, as you can see in the names of these societies and churches, the African Methodist Episcopal Church, the
absolutely.
Philadelphia Free African Society. These are people who knew that they were African as well.
That's right. Yeah, that's so important, man. Because unfortunately, some of our people at some point forgot, that we were Africans. Um, but that's, this is key, what you're speaking on, building our own institutions. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
It's something that our people have always done out of necessity, right? And it feels like at
yeah,
some point, integration became the norm, and so we
yeah.
kind of forgot. We kind of not forgot, but we kind of thought that that's it. We don't need to build our own anymore. We kind of
Hmm.
forgot what Garvey, where everybody, all of our leaders were speaking on, and we thought that now we good. We can eat with the white man. We're free.
Man, I hope. I mean, yeah, there's definitely some truth to that, right? Or at least like relatively free, because you have folks who still claim that America is a racist country, and you can't say that you're free and live in a racist country at the same time. Like I feel like that's a serious contradiction, man.
Hmm.
So, what you have is people who want to claim that America is, one thing, right? Like this racist, even, colonial entity. But at the same time, they want to integrate within the system of that
Yeah.
racist colonial entity. So, there's a serious contradiction, but I think that there's always been a history of people who have benefited from being a part of this system, the minority of Africans that can benefit. And as long as they can relatively benefit from it, they'll drag everybody else along with them, no matter how bad the conditions are for the masses of people. And, it's funny, you bring that up because these are ideologies that we have these competing ideologies that go all the way back to this period of time I'm talking about, the antebellum period, because
Yeah.
Richard Allen, who is one of the leading figures in Philadelphia in the 1820s. You see Richard Allen and other leaders from Absalom Jones to John Fortin, sorry, James Fortin. These black leaders within the Philadelphia area are going to organize the color conventions or the Negro conventions. Right in Philadelphia, you're going to have the first one. So the Negro Convention movement is
Mm.
also a part of this tradition, this Black radical tradition, where you have Black people again coming together and forming institutions and to discuss a Black agenda. And
Right.
so, when you're talking about the abolition of slavery, the discussion over the fighting for civil rights within the United States of America during the
Mm.
antebellum period, because mind you, like you have a large slave population or enslaved population in the South, and you have a free population, relatively large free population in the North. Though there's free Africans that are living in quote unquote, free because it's still
Yeah.
under colonialism, but those who are not under chattel slavery
Yeah.
in the South, but in the North, it's different conditions. And
Hmm.
so, they're struggling for quote unquote constitutional rights, right? It's a different struggle going on, but they're also recognizing that slavery exists and slavery is a threat to even Africans in the North. And
Of
so,
course.
there's this struggle to abolish slavery. In Philadelphia, you have early on, you have African leaders who are struggling for redress as they're looking to have the Fugitive Slave Act appealed, which the Fugitive Slave Act called on the northern or anyone who come in contact with fugitive slaves to return those slaves to their rightful owner. We talking about people. It's a crazy thing right now. Uh, but this is taking place. So going back to the Negro Convention in the 1820s, there's going to be a race riot in Cincinnati
Hmm.
around 1828. So you have in 1829, 1830, Black leaders in Philadelphia get together and they're having first meeting around immigration. What should Black people do, right? And they're having this discussion: should we stay or should we go? And you have the first color convention that's going to take place, I believe, in 1832 in Philadelphia. And this is going to be the first of a series of color conventions that's going to take place throughout the northern states. So you have conventions in Syracuse, Albany, Cincinnati, I believe Cleveland. And then you're going to have several in Philadelphia as well after that first convention. And so these discussions are being had, and going back to like these conflicting ideas of how Black people should move forward, whether we should stay or should we go. The in the 1830s in Philadelphia, the integration, we using that, I'm gonna use that term loosely, but the integrationists are going to win out in this struggle over how Black people should move, free Blacks should move, because there's conversations about going to Canada. So they lose out on that debate. It was minority, but in the 1850s, it's going to gain traction again as far as the immigrationist movement. Leaving America, going to Africa, or the Caribbean, and so forth. So, but I thought I should, also highlight that as well, man. So there's people who, Black leaders who are talking about sort of like this, almost like a Booker T. Washington approach,
Okay.
where it's, if we behave a certain way, if we kind of like lift ourselves up, that white people are going to eventually accept us and see that we're equal to them. We're just like them. And so there's like this temperance movement, the moral reform movement, where they're trying to have Black people behave and act a certain way, like no drinking, stand upright, so to speak, a certain way, right?
Yeah,
Behave a certain way.
that train of thought definitely exists till today. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's basically, because of us and the way we act. If we just show them that we're good people, if we just show them that
yeah,
we're good people, we're like them, we're hard workers, we can do it, then we're
yeah.
gonna be fine. You know what I mean? They didn't study Urugu.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Hey, that's why I wanted to pull that out, man, so people can see like this is a certain mindset
Mm.
that Africans are that have at this particular time, that are going to be passed on from generation to generation, and we continue to have these
Yeah,
struggles within our movement on whether to integrate. So they're having the same conversations at that
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, our elder, Daruba bin Wahad speaks a lot on this. Like some of us, we keep on trying to fight the same fights. You know what I'm saying? Like we
Mm.
already been through this. You know what I'm saying? Like we know what
Yeah,
time it is. And we just
yeah.
keep, thinking that. Yeah, man. But I appreciate that, man. Let's get into the 1900s.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, man.
Well, before we move there, I want to quickly big up Octavius Cato,
Mm,
particularly like when you come to Philadelphia and you're in Center City at City Hall, you're going to
mm,
see Octavius Cato's statue. And Octavius Cato, I think, is the first and only. I don't think anything was built after him, but as far as like a statue in Philadelphia, designed and built of a Black figure,
mm-hmm.
was Octavius Cato, or is Octavius Cato. And Octavius Cato was someone who was struggling during the Reconstruction period to ensure that Black people were able to exercise their constitutional right to vote. And he was murdered during, I guess you can call, a race riot, where the Irish community, who looked at the Black community as a threat, a political threat, economic threat. Again, like this, when we look at this history of whiteness and how some of these groups are able to assimilate easier than the Black community because,
Of course.
Africans, our skin tone keeps us from being able to integrate inside with the white community as easy as the Italians and Irish and other, these other Eastern European ethnic groups who were
Yeah.
coming over here en masse were able to do. But Octavius Cato, he was murdered as a result of that. But he's, part of that tradition of struggle against oppression, against racism in this country. We're moving into the 1900s. Well, also, I want to uplift Octavius Cato's fiance, Caroline LeCount, because Caroline LeCount was also someone who struggled against discrimination, and name should be uplifted in her own right because she helped desegregate I don't want to call them tribe, but I guess something like trolleys, but they used to have the carts back in the day that transport people around. But she fought to desegregate that. So when you think about like she was the Rosa Parks of her time here in Philadelphia. So, that activist tradition goes back to the Reconstruction period, but moving into the 1900s, I'll just bring up Marcus Garvey because Marcus Garvey is going to have tremendous influence. He goes to New York, but a chapter of the Universal Negro Improvement Association is going to be established in Philadelphia. And from what I know, and I could be wrong on this, it's been a long time since I came across, looked at this information, but what I can recall is that Philadelphia, I think, had the second largest chapter next to Chicago. I think Chicago had the largest, and Philadelphia had the second largest. Right? And I can't do a fact check right now, but whether second largest, it still was an established
It was
chapter.
it was still a huge chapter, big chapter, one of the largest.
It still hasn't, the UNIA still have active members today. It doesn't have the same impact as it did at that time. But again, going to this Black radical tradition, Marcus Garvey and the Garvey movement, Black nationalism, Pan-Africanism, is going to have an influence on Black Philadelphia, which doesn't have a large population at that time. You're going to see Philadelphia's Black population growing in the early 1900s all the way up to the 1960s. So you're somewhere around like 10 to 20% of the between 10 and 20% of the Black population, the Philadelphia population being African during this time. And the more the population increase, you're going to see this tension grow between the white population and Black population in Philadelphia. And so there's going to be a history of struggle for self-determination as well as for civil rights. So that's taking place in Philadelphia. You have the Nation of Islam that's going to come in the 1950s. Malcolm X is going to invigorate Temple number 12 in Philadelphia. He comes to Philadelphia in 1954. And Malcolm X, I mean, what can I not say? Malcolm X, I ain't gonna turn this into a Malcolm X conversation, but he's gonna have like a tremendous influence, as many of us know, on the Black Power movement, right?
Of course.
And so, him being here in 54 and helping the Nation of Islam establish a strong presence in Philadelphia is significant, to Philadelphia's Black radical history, especially when we talk in terms of the Black Power movement.
Yes.
Right. You have to look at what Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam was able to do in Philadelphia from the 50s through into the 1970s. I would hear stories about the Nation of Islam and how they, their organizing tactics back in the day. There wasn't an option in regards to whether you was coming to the temple or not.
Oh, word? Break that down a little bit, yo.
Well, from what I heard, man, they would just pull up on the corners like, hey, you coming to the temple like that. Like, there's no, hey, do you want to come to the temple? It's like, yo, they grabbing folks and bringing you to to the temple. And you know, I don't want to go deep into Nation of Islam's, you know, dark history. But of course, you have like the Black Mafia that is going to emerge from the Nation of Islam. Many of those who were part of the Nation of Islam is going to, not, let me not say many, but you have people who are part of the Nation of Islam who's going to establish the Black Mafia in Philadelphia. And so I think what's the name of that book? Is it Black Ink or Black Mafia Inc. That came out that kind of details that story.
Okay.
But yeah, so you know, you have Malcolm in '54, the Nation of Islam, and then you know, the '60s, man. Again, during this time though, there's the civil rights struggle that's happening. There's SNCC, but all of this is going to have an impact on the North in general. You know, with direct action that's taking place as far as the sit-ins, the freedom rides that are happening in the South, the bus boycotts throughout the '50s, and so in 1960, where you had the excuse me, the Southern college movement, student movement, I should say, Southern student movement that's taking place throughout the South with the sit-ins and with Woolworths and the boycotts that are taking place. That's going to influence a movement in the South. So you're going to have a Northern student movement that is going to happen in conjunction with the Southern student movement to show support. But also in the North, they're dealing with contradictions. And just to stick with Philadelphia, but what's happening in Philadelphia is happening in other cities in the North with the Black communities. But in Philadelphia, you're going to have the boycotting of companies that are discriminating in their hiring practices. And one of the leading figures, John Churchville, is going to be a leading figure in Philadelphia, and he's going to establish the Freedom Library, which in the Black People's Unity Movement, which is going to be probably the first, one of the first, you know, it depends on who you talk to, but like one of the first Black Power organizations in Philadelphia. Because I will argue you have the Revolutionary Action Movement that's formed in 1962, which can be said to be like one of the first Black Power movements, organizations in Philadelphia, but don't get a lot of credit and not a lot of acknowledgement. But the Revolutionary Action Movement is going to be like the forerunner to organizations like the Black Panther Party, like the Republic of New Africa. You're going to have people like Amari Overdeli, who was a part of the Revolutionary Action Movement. At the time, and Milton Freeman and his brother Richard Freeman, the brothers, they're going to be the founders of the Republic of New Africa. That's going to be formed in 1968. But they come out of Philadelphia. You know, they come out of Philadelphia. They move to Detroit. But these are people who were concerting, like with Malcolm X. These were people, and they all were a part of the Revolutionary Action Movement. Malcolm X was written by Muhammad Ahmad, who was Max Stanford at the time, who was one of the founders of the Revolutionary Action Movement, writes that Malcolm X was a member, a silent member of the Revolutionary Action Movement. So you have all of these people. Robert F. Williams, was a member of the Revolutionary Action Movement. So they're well established here in Philadelphia in the early 1960s. So let me see. I'm not bouncing all over the place. Am I? Was John Churchville?
No, you good. You good. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Black Panther Party chapter. The Philly chapter. By the way, yeah, we had Russell Shoatz, the third. Yeah, he was on the rise up not too long ago. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, speak a little bit about
that's my Ndugu right there, man. I organized with him on the Curve Fest, the Curve Fest for Political Prisoners committee. And he's one of the founders, him, Yane Indigo. So shout out to Russell Maroon Shoatz III. And I actually read his father's book, powerful book, The Implacable Maroon. I want to encourage people to pick that book up, a powerful read. But there's a guy by the name of Reggie Schnell, I believe, who is going to be the first Minister of Defense of the Black Panther Party.
Okay.
But going back to John Churchville, he's a part of that movement when we talk about the Freedom Library that was established by Churchill, where that was used as an organizing tool. And so the Freedom Library is going to connect with the Northern Student Movement, right? And together they're going to establish some of the first, I guess you could say, Black Power conferences in Philadelphia, not necessarily, in the States, but Reggie Schnell, who's a part of that movement, is going to establish he's going to be the first Minister of Defense of the Black Panther Party, right? Because it takes a group to establish. I'm not familiar with some of the other members, but I know he's going to be one of the founding members in the Black Panther Party. I would say like in the 60s, and of course Mumia Abu-Jamal was a member. You mentioned Russell Maroon Shoatz. Many of them are going to have to go, members of the Black Panther Party, go underground because of the assault on the Black Panther Party in the 60s.
Yeah.
So, the same thing that was taking place in Oakland, in LA, in Chicago, right? Across the Black Panther Party offices were being attacked throughout the United States. There's going to be the murder of a police officer, I want to say 69, that is going to bring hell down on the Black Panther Party. And so, if anybody's seen those pictures, Black Panther Party members, like clothes, like stripped down to their underwear, like they were doing these things to sort of humiliate the Black Panther Party and just like these different scare tactics. And it actually, it worked in a sense because they really crippled the Black Power movement in Philadelphia at that time. I mean, we still reeling from the effects of what took place in the 60s and the 70s, the attack on the MOVE organization.
Right. Yeah, I did want to speak about that, man, because that's important too.
Yeah. And, Mumia Abu-Jamal, free Mumia, the
Free
struggle to free
Mumia
Mumia.
all day, every day.
Indeed. And, he was a part of that struggle for justice, for the MOVE. But the MOVE, was an organization that was anti-colonialism.
Right.
It was anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism, and was looking to build a community among themselves, a sovereign community among themselves. And the state of Pennsylvania, the state of Philadelphia, couldn't bear to see Black people being independent, living, separate from the rules established by America. And this is what MOVE was attempting to do. And because they were looking to live by their own rules. And when we talk about MOVE is a peaceful organization, love life.
Love life, that's right. They were about respecting all forms of life,
All forms of life.
Yeah.
All forms of life. From the animals, human beings, like one life wasn't worth more than another.
That's right.
Right? The vegan, I can learn a lot from the MOVE.
No doubt.
Indeed. Well, when it's 1978, the MOVE comes under attack by the city of Philadelphia. And you have one police officer who is going to be murdered by friendly fire. When you do the history, you'll understand why I say that. But this is an officer who was murdered by friendly fire. But they pinned the murder by the police on their own officer on the MOVE.
Yeah.
And 9 MOVE members were given somewhere around 100 years for the murder of this one police officer. Nine MOVE members were given 100 years. And that's because, none of them was to blame. Because if there was, you mean to tell me you couldn't find out who fired the gun? You know what I'm saying? Like who had the gun, who fired the gun. But anyway, so you had 9 MOVE members who were incarcerated, and the struggle to free the MOVE by their family members and by Mumia Abu-Jamal is going to lead to more tragedy. Mumia Abu-Jamal is going to be arrested and convicted, well, arrested in 1981, convicted in 1982 of the murder of David Faulkner, the police officer,
yeah,
and was given a death sentence,
yeah,
which was overturned due to the struggle of the people to have the death sentence of Mumia Abu-Jamal overturned, but he was still sentenced to life in prison. That's
yeah.
why we still say free Mumia.
And some of the other comrades from the MOVE organization, just they've been getting out, in the past 10 years, maybe, not too
Yeah,
long
just
ago, right? Like,
during COVID. I
yeah,
think I think
exactly.
during COVID, maybe actually I think right before COVID.
Right before COVID, I
Some
think, yeah.
yeah,
And shout out to Mike Africa Jr., by the
yeah.
way, he was on the rise up as well. Mike Africa
You
Jr.
got to bring him up on here.
Yeah,
It come
definitely
up on
will,
here.
definitely will. Shout out to
Yeah.
Mike Africa Jr. Definitely, I would love to have him, expand on the history of MOVE.
Oh
As
yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah. He's an expert in
oh,
in
no doubt,
that.
yeah.
It's a
He was
shame.
actually, yeah, he was born in prison.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was born in prison. His parents were in for life, I think, and they were able to get out not too long ago.
yeah,
We had
yeah. I
that.
think all the two of the MOVE members transitioned behind bars, but
Mm,
the other seven were able to come home
mm,
at some point. They're all not with us today. I think I know a few of the MOVE members transitioned since they came home,
yeah.
but seven of the nine were able to see the other side of the walls, man, before some of them transition. But that, it takes us to, again, like just speaking on the MOVE in 1985, it's when Wilson Good, had the bomb, some C4 dropped on the home of the MOVE members, and you had 11 MOVE members who were murdered in 1985,
Mm,
killing children, women, and men in that bombing. And actually, that bombing in 1985, the murder of those MOVE members, is going to bring the African People's Socialist Party to Philadelphia. And
okay.
so, that's how the Uhuru movement comes to Philadelphia.
Mm.
And they get to be a part of this Philadelphia radical tradition. Yeah, they get to be a part of this. You know what I'm saying? So they should be thankful to be a part of such a great history. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to the Uhuru movement, man.
Shout out, man. Shout out. Yeah, for sure. But it's definitely like it's a beautiful history. A lot of struggle.
Hmm.
I would say it's not where I would like it to be today. A lot of
Mm.
contradictions today, man. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, some
Well,
people
that's not just Philadelphia, man.
not just yeah. That's
There's a
true.
lot of contradiction, all over the United States and all over the world. So don't feel like it's just Philly, you know.
Sometimes it feels like it, but nah, for sure, man. But the things I see going on in New York, I'm just like, I need Philadelphia to get on that page. Like when you
Okay.
see the march and the rally around Palestine in New York, man, they was in the streets, and
Yeah.
Philadelphia, like for the 29th um, day of solidarity with the people of Palestine. And in Philadelphia, I was out in the streets with the folks in Philadelphia,
Uh-huh.
and it wasn't the same, but still impactful though. So
Right.
I don't take anything for granted. Just
Mm.
being out there and being able to uplift or accentuate like what's taking place in Palestine.
Yeah.
That's important. So definitely appreciative to the organizers,
No
for
doubt.
that. So, but yeah, in New York though, it's like a whole different monster though,
Yeah.
man.
Well, that's
They
that's how
always
it is,
been on
man.
it.
But that's
Yeah,
that's how it is, man. I mean, it's
New
like
York is
Paris,
huge too.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's like Paris, I live in Rennes, a smaller city in France. It's
Mm.
never like Paris. There's always more movement in Paris. As a
Yeah,
matter of
yeah,
fact, my organization, the chapter is really based in Paris. So,
Yeah,
it's always more movement, more people, because there's also more of our diaspora, more Africans travel through there, come in and out, leave more culture. There's more going
yeah,
on in these huge cities, like New York, like Paris. These are truly international cities. Not to say that Philly's not, but these are just bigger cities,
yeah, yeah. Nah, I dig it.
So, but yeah, definitely a rich history, man. Philadelphia, definitely a
Mm,
black and beautiful and powerful, history.
for
Um,
sure.
what would you say to somebody today, let's say somebody that's in Philly, living in Philly that's not necessarily in the movement, but that would like to become, part of this. Where would you tell them to go? Who would you tell them to see? I know he got to come see you, man, but
Yeah.
what's
Hey,
the organizations, what's the movement looking like?
yeah.
What's going on today in Philly as far as that?
Yeah, for sure, man. I'll tell them to come see me, get down with me, get down with We Charge Colonialism and the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, which is the mass organization of the African People's Socialist Party. Now, I'll say, most of the work that I do with NPDM is in New York because I'm organizing with folks I've been organizing with for years, and I lived in Brooklyn for a very long time. I still work in Brooklyn, so I'm always going back and forth up there. And we had some programming going on,
Mm,
but I'm looking to establish some things in Philadelphia as well. And so, definitely, come see me. But I'm working with other organizations too, so I'm not territorial
that's right.
at all. It's about just like getting the work done. So I ain't going to be like, hey, you got to join, my organization I'm with, to get down. It's like I'm organizing with the All African People's Revolutionary Party in New York and in Philadelphia, right?
Mm,
Folks from Black Alliance for Peace, you know, folks. There's some folks Philly Black Lives Matter that are here. So they separated from the other folks. So just
I
to
hear
be,
you. I hear you.
but
I hear you.
yeah, different
Yeah,
organizations, man. Like it's, so,
tap in with them Ndugu.
yeah, tap in with me, man. Like let's do some work.
No doubt.
It ain't about names. You definitely, hey, I'm definitely banging against the system though, man. So
That's what it's
prepared
about.
prepared to become a revolutionary though.
No doubt.
We ain't doing no no integrationist work. I would say that much. So if you're looking to do some integrationist work, I'm not the person,
Hey
for
man,
that.
if they watching the Vital Hoops podcast, I don't think they looking to do integrationist work. You know what I mean? Shout out to all my listeners,
No
man.
doubt. Yeah,
So
that's a
anyway,
fact.
yeah, man, that's dope. That's a beautiful thing, man. I appreciate that. Um, can we talk a little bit? Let's talk a little bit about hip hop, man. Because Philly, man, Philly is also a rich city in hip hop culture, and
Indeed, indeed.
I gotta say one of my favorite MCs, man, all time I gotta say is Black Thought, man. You know,
Yeah, Black
man,
Thought's a
he's
monster,
def
man.
yeah, he's definitely one of my favorites. I'm
He
saying
makes
one
me
of
proud.
because but I love Black Thought, man. Ever since, man, the Roots, it's just been
Yeah.
super dope and super influential to me, man. As an MC, but also just as a person, man. But
Yeah.
yeah, who else, man? I really love Freeway too, man. Freeway is super dope. I used to back
Yeah.
in the day, I used to enjoy, the whole state property, man. All them dudes is dope, man.
Yeah.
You know?
I wasn't big. See, the crazy thing, man, some of these people came around at the wrong time for me
Oh yeah, of course.
because my consciousness was
Yeah.
shifting.
So it wasn't
Uh
letting you, yeah, listening to the, yeah. As far as the words, definitely, I agree. I feel you. Yeah. Nah,
yeah,
I feel you.
yeah.
I feel you,
Because
man.
Beans, don't get me wrong, like Beanie Siegel, man, when I first heard him, I said, yo, this dude,
Yeah,
I'm like, he's amazing,
yeah,
right? Um, but again, like my consciousness was shifting. So
yeah.
you know, I just stopped listening to a lot of hip hop. I wasn't listening to
Yeah,
when
it's
it comes
tough.
like 90, 98,
Hmm.
99, 2000. Like I was slowly like transitioning out of hip hop, still listening, but it had to be like certain music. So like
Right.
Talib Kweli,
Like Black Star back then. Yeah.
Black Star, Dead
Dead Prez.
Prez,
Yeah,
especially Dead Prez because of the like Dead Prez, they
yeah.
was another level,
Yeah. Yeah.
for me. But they just
Same.
couldn't duplicate that Let's Get Free album, man.
No.
They
No,
they,
but
they
I
couldn't
don't think they
duplicate
tried.
that.
I don't think they really tried, to be honest. But I think the thing with Dead Prez is we gotta recognize they was organizers before they started rapping.
Yeah,
Well, not
yeah.
not before they started rapping,
It was
but
an
before.
organization I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. Before they
Yeah,
started, before they built the group and they started dropping the album and all of that, they was organizing, right? And yeah,
yeah,
with Uhuru. So, so that's why you can't really compare it to any other artist in the
yeah,
industry. You know what I mean? They politics was too on point, man. With let's get free. You listen to that
yeah.
today, you're like, man, this shit dropped yesterday. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. The
It needed.
politics on that, John. It's funny you say that. Like we might have to do a revival of that. Maybe like do like mix it up with the beats to make it sound more,
Man,
2025 up to date. Because like with the youth, man, they used to a certain sound now.
yeah, I hear that.
So,
I hear that.
maybe do that. But the content is amazing, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
without a doubt. It's cold-blooded, man. That
yeah,
album
for
is
sure.
for sure, man. But yeah, Beans, I love Beans too, man. Beanie Siegel. Who else? Who else you like? Philly, top Philly
Philadelphia's funny.
MCs.
Like I grew up listening to Steady B,
Okay.
Cool C, those folks, man. And then like Beans, like before, it was all like really New York. New York was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they had it on lock. Like I was listening to Scarface though. There was like some Southern mix in there, but New York had it locked. But Beans came along, and that was like the Philly rapper. Of course, like Roots, but like with Roots again, like there's a lot of hip hop I think I missed. Like I'm going back and catching up, but like the Clones album, the Illadel, I think it was like their second album or something
Yeah.
like that. The one with Clones
Philadelphia
on it.
Lifetime or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like that was an album that I purchased. I was that
yeah,
album was amazing.
yeah.
And the next thing you know, though, like I wasn't really listening. I just started getting back into like the Roots and Black Thought, listening to his music. Like that last album Black Thought put out,
Yeah,
that
he
joint
dropped a
was,
few. Yeah, he dropped a few
oh
albums
my
solo
goodness.
lately. Yeah, yeah. It
Um,
was the album you was talking about was Philadelphia Half Life. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's a classic,
yeah.
man. Or
That's
if
that's
not a
cold.
classic, it's close to it. Like that
Nah,
was
it's a
an
classic. Nah,
album.
it's a classic for sure, man. Classic for sure. But I love also like later on they drop Things Fall Apart is a classic to me. That album is a classic.
Yeah,
The
see, I
Roots.
gotta go back and listen to it,
Yeah,
man. Like
Things Fall
some,
Apart. Listen to that
yeah.
one. That one is cold, man.
Is that the
Um,
one with Erica Badu on it?
yeah, Things Fall
Oh,
Apart is the one
okay.
with Erica. Yeah, yeah,
All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's what that was hot. I gotta go back and check it out, but I know that it has some hot tracks on there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's
but
cold.
like I'm telling you, man, like it's a lot of hip, like 2000s, 2010, and all of that is like a blur for me.
Nah, nah, I feel you, man. As far as the content lyrically, sometimes it's difficult, you know.
Yeah,
But not back then to me, man. Back then when State Property dropped, all them Philly cats, I was young.
yeah.
I was feeling it. I was feeling it. I was loving it, man. But shoot.
They was definitely holding it down for the city though. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
you ask
Yeah,
if you ask like anybody else, they probably be like, yeah,
yeah, but they politics, of course, man. Come on, man.
Oh my
You know
goodness,
what time it
man.
is, man. But yo,
And
but
I was at the end of the day too, like I was a big Nas, still a big Nas head,
same,
Nas
same,
fan. So they
same.
was on the other side, even though they
Yeah,
was from Philly.
yeah.
Like they,
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel you. There was rocking with yeah, yeah, no doubt.
I
There
was
was rocking with
Queens
Jay-Z and
Bridge,
shit. Yeah.
man. Like Mobb Deep was my favorite group.
Man, I love Mobb Deep too, though.
Yeah,
For
like
sure.
I'm telling you, I
Mobb
was
Deep.
Queens Bridge all day. Like
I hear
even when
that.
I moved to New York, I was in Brooklyn. I went to Queensbridge like it was a tourist attraction, man. You know, when I think back, I'm like, yo, that was dangerous. I was like 22. I was like 22. I went over there. I was taking pictures and everything. I walked through the middle of the projects, man. But I'm a hood cat, so
Right.
I ain't even. I'm like, shit. I'm from the hood, like one hood like the other.
Next
You
to
know what
her,
I'm
yeah, you
saying?
like,
Like it ain't really, especially it ain't. It's not like I was like 15, 16. I was 22 at the time. So
yeah,
I'm a grown man. I can walk through
yeah.
many hoods. So you know what I'm saying?
I hear that.
Nobody on that type of time unless you looking like you coming through shining or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean,
yeah, like
the whole taking pictures thing is a little suspect, but other than
that
that,
was a
you
little
smooth.
suspect. But you know, I did it on a smooth tip.
Word,
But
I
I
hear
took a
you.
picture of the Queens Bridge. I wasn't going around just like flashing shots, but I definitely
Just
took
like
a
snapping.
picture of the Queens Bridge housing.
Right.
John, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's legendary to me too, for sure, man. Yeah,
oh yeah, I was in it, but I was living down the street from Marcy Projects.
yeah.
Like Marcy Projects was walking distance from because I was living on Myrtle Avenue.
Okay,
Marcy
in Brooklyn.
Projects is
Yeah.
on Myrtle Avenue. You know,
Mm-hmm.
down. It was so close. Like we delivered to Marcy Projects. That's how close I was. But I was Queensbridge. Like I ain't care about
It's
Marcy.
like QB.
I ain't care about Marcy, man. You know.
What about what about the underground, man? Are you tapped into, underground hip hop and all that, or not? Not really.
Nah, not really. But there was a time though I was big into like the underground hip hop in Philly. I was like big
Yeah,
on not necessarily mixtapes,
yeah.
but like Meek Mills before he blew up and all. Like I knew,
Before
yeah,
he
I
blew,
knew
yeah,
about all of that. I was listening to.
yeah.
I used to watch like the battles and on the corner where they would
Yeah,
just be like taping. Yeah. So from like the
that's
Reed Dollars, the Joey Jihads, Meek Mills. So I knew all of those. Like some of the names elude me now, but at the time I kind of
yeah, no doubt, man.
Chic Raw. Yeah, I was
The
big into that.
underground, the underground is where it's at, man. That's where the culture
Yeah,
lives, man.
Philly got some
I
spitters.
I
Like,
like I like. There's a couple cats that I like from Philly that's underground. There's a cat named Q3, I think something like that. Q3.
okay,
And it's a guy named Curly Castro too. That's dope. Curly Castro. And these
mm,
brothers, they got some dope bars and
okay,
lyrics too. And lyrics too.
yeah,
They be, so yeah, Q3, Curly Castro, they from Philly. It's a few cats. But yeah, I'm always tapped into the underground, man. But
okay.
but yeah, let's talk hoops a little bit, man, before I let you go, man. Let's talk basketball because we spoke about this off camera the other day, but Philly got some ballers, man. Philly got some ballers. I know you
Yeah,
used to
when I was
hoop.
coming up, we definitely, we used to ball out, man. I don't
Yeah,
think like the scene. I'm sure there's some ballers out there, but I like when I was growing, like the pub, like the public school system,
yeah,
basketball league, yeah,
yeah.
like the pub. Oh man, we used to get it in. And I remember just like growing up, like we would be in the Daily News. Like the
That's
Philadelphia
right.
Daily
Yeah,
News
yeah,
would
yeah.
cover
What high school
our
did you
game.
play for?
Overbrook High School.
Okay.
Yeah, and like Overbrook was a powerhouse, man. Like before I was there,
What
and
part of
while I
Philly is
was
that?
there,
What part of Philly is that?
West Philly.
West Philly. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what like Will Smith and
Hmm.
Benny Boone. Like there's a lot of legends that came out. Wilt Chamberlain went to
Yeah,
Philly.
West Philly. Yeah, that's what I was about to say, man.
I
Will
mean,
Chamberlain is from
Overbrook.
Philly.
Yeah, Wilt Chamberlain. They got the picture of Wilt Chamberlain and Overbrook, man.
You know,
Um,
you know who was hooping in my days too, man. When I was like, I think I was in like high school.
yeah.
St. Joe's University with Jameer Nelson over there. Remember
Oh
that?
yeah, St.
Remember that?
Joe's is right up the street from
Yeah,
Overbrook.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, they squad with Jameer Nelson was cold blooded. Remember Jameer Nelson over there?
yeah. We used to practice at St. Joe's like during the summer.
Okay.
Yeah, we practiced up there. I remember I got elbowed in my bust my lip, man, while open at Overbrook. I mean at St. Joe's,
St.
man.
Joe's. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I was trying out for the team. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
no
what's it
doubt, man.
called? You know Malik Rose played for San
Yeah,
Antonio. Yeah,
yeah.
he
Yeah.
went to Overbrook. Like
Okay.
I think he graduated the year I came in, like or came in as a freshman. He just
Yeah.
left, but I
Okay.
played on the team with his little brother. Like me and him was teammates.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, man. And then y'all also have. I mean, you told me the other day y'all claimed Kobe. So I ain't gonna say that.
Yeah.
You know.
Kobe, Kobe came to one of our games.
Oh,
Like,
word.
yeah, he
Okay.
came as a spectator.
Okay.
He was still a senior, and he still was at Lower Marion at this time. And
Yeah.
he came, he sat in the crowd and watched our game. That's what I'm saying. Overbrook was a powerhouse. Like the whole
Right.
time, like before I went, when I went, me making the team, like I played Overbrook. I made it in my freshman year.
Okay.
But I ain't really playing until my last 2 years.
Yeah, that's how it
Um,
is, man. Good, all good teams, they got
yeah.
freshmen and sophomore got to pay their dues, man. You can't just.
Yeah, but like I'm proud to say I played for Overbrook because
I feel
Overbrook
you.
is like legendary, man. Like you have to
Okay,
be a baller
okay,
to get on Overbrook team, man. We
that's what's
had
up.
uh like yeah, so Kobe, he came through, and I think I told you like the year after Kobe graduated, we played his team, Lower Marion.
Okay,
Yo, we blitzed them. We
y'all
beat them by
smoked them.
like 50.
Dang,
And yo, they coach. No, the fans were so mad because my coach, he would never sub. He would have. We could be up by like 40.
he
It'd
kept
be like the
pressing,
college,
kept going at
college.
their neck, huh?
Yeah, you ever watch like college, the women's games,
Yeah,
and like they'll keep their whole team in to like the last minute.
yeah.
Even they could be winning by like 40 points. Like that's how my coach was. We would be crushing these
He
dudes
didn't
by
care.
like 40. And it's like a minute to go and he'll sub us out. Like teams used to be mad at us, bro. But we blitzed Kobe squad, man.
That's that's crazy.
I guess it wasn't his squad no more.
Yeah, he
So
wasn't there no more, man. But yo, one of my favorite players out of Philly is definitely Sheed, man, Rasheed Wallace.
oh yeah.
Sheed,
He's
she,
legendary at
Sheed is
Philly.
cold-blooded, man. His career was cold. He's underrated to me when people talk about greatest power forwards, man.
Yeah.
Sheed
Yeah,
was
people
cold-blooded.
who know she, they know like
Yeah,
she. The crazy thing is like I don't like she. I feel like she could have averaged 25, 15 easy if he wanted to, man.
he was a
Like
killer.
yeah, I don't know what it was. I guess she was just like he hard to figure
His
out, man. But I
his
feel
game was
like
so diverse, man. He had so much
yeah,
in his bag, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And he was big and strong as well. It's not like he was, but he brought the hooper with the Air Force Ones into the league, man. Dudes was doing that in the park, but he brought that shit to the league, like, you know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah,
Yeah, man.
I ain't know that. Okay.
Yeah, with the Air Force Ones. If you look, then they started putting his logo on them. He had his little logo. And so
Yeah,
Nike worked that out with him. But yeah, definitely, man. Sheed was, yeah.
yeah. If you look at like around that time.
Mm.
A lot of folk cats out of Philadelphia, man, went to the league. Some folks, man, that I thought would go to the league didn't go. I remember this guy, something Towns, Kareem Towns, I think his name was.
Mm.
Yo, this dude was so good. He scored like 70, 80 points in a public school game. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like again,
Yeah.
like the pub was tough.
Right.
And he's before he came up like around like Sheed in them era.
Yeah.
So, this dude scored, but he ended up doing like 10 years in prison for drugs, selling drugs. There was this other guy, Rashid Brokenborough. He went to Temple, but he probably just wasn't good enough to go to the NBA. But as far as like the pub, he was a beast, man. He was
Killer.
Steph Curry before Steph Curry. I
Mm.
swear. He was Steph Curry before Steph Curry. He was the first player and only player now I think about it, like how Caitlin Clark be on the court.
Yeah.
Like that was he was the only player in the pub I remember where they said like when he crossed half court, you gotta go stick him.
You better,
Like don't let
you
him
better
shoot.
D him up.
Yeah, because he would pull. He would come. He would cross half court. If you not playing defense on him, he'd pull up right there. He would knock it down, man. I'm telling you, he was Steph Curry before Steph Curry.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those
no,
are
it's a
some
lot of
good. I
it's a
love
lot
them
of
days.
players that, it's a lot of great players that never saw the league, man. There's always, a
Yeah,
lot of things going on. But yeah, that's just the reality of it.
yeah, for sure,
Um,
man.
no doubt, man. But yo, Ndugu, man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming through, blessing the show. Um, Before I let you go, man, do you have a book recommendation? I know you mentioned earlier Russell Shoatz book. That's definitely one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely the Implacable Maroon. That's like
Hmm.
I guess you can call it an autobiography. It's
Okay.
his
No,
writings.
no
Yeah.
doubt. Appreciate
There's
that.
another book just like I wanted to give something that dealt with the history that we were talking about.
Yeah, Philly.
This particular book by Matthew Countryman, Up
Hmm.
South, Civil Rights and Black Power in Philadelphia, right?
Dope.
So,
Appreciate
a lot of that history that I was talking about is detailed in that book. It really doesn't go back to as far back
it. As far, yeah, yeah.
as far as like the 18th century,
Mm.
um, but as far as like the civil rights struggle in the 20th century and the Black Power movement in Philadelphia, it gets into that history. So it's a pretty good book to check out. Yeah.
Mm. Appreciate that, man. Thank you. And I'm gonna recommend, like, we spoke about Move. I'm gonna recommend, Mike Africa Jr.'s book, On the Move.
Just right.
On the Move. Yeah, he just dropped not too long ago. Definitely go get that as well. And shout out to Mike Africa Jr. All right, man. This is it. What you
This is
got,
it.
man? Give us a last word, man. Let the people know where they can check you out. We charge colonialism, where they can follow, all of that, man.
Yeah, for sure. We charge colonialism.org. And we charge colonialism on all social media platforms, Twitter, IG, uh, Facebook, but definitely follow Global Ubuntu Foundation on Instagram as well, because Global Ubuntu Foundation, I do a lot of promotion on there. So if folks want to just like see what's going on, maybe something's going on in that area, or even if they have something that they would like promoted, uh, that's dealing with Black Power, that's coming something positive, as long
Right.
as it's positive. It don't necessarily have to be on some Black Power, but yeah, you can share that with me. So I treat that page like the people's page, man. I just try to uplift things that we are doing. So definitely follow Global Ubuntu Foundation.
Word. Give thanks, and Ndugu. That's it,
Yeah,
everybody. Yeah, make sure you, like you said, we charge colonialism, and check us out again on the Rise Up. And
indeed, man.
that's it. Shout out to
And
the
stay
comrade.
revolutionary, man.
Always.
And definitely like free Palestine, man, free Sudan, hands off Congo, free the land, and get involved. If you're not organized, definitely get involved, get organized because there's plenty of organizations that are out here that's doing the work. And so you have something to contribute to this, to our liberation. And if you're not contributing your skills, your talent, your know-how within organization, then you're part of the problem. You either fighting for liberation or you complicit in the oppression and exploitation of African people. So which one is it? There is no in between. So
Right.
yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Appreciate that, comrade. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
All right, all right. That was Dr. Ikemba Ojore. Episode 72 of the Vada Hoops podcast is now in the books. Please support if you can by liking, sharing, subscribing to the channel. You can donate on PayPal. You can also become a Patreon member. Anything and everything is appreciated. Check out the links down in the description. Like I said, this is episode 72 of the Vada Hoops podcast. We got one more this year, one more episode for 2024. which will be on the first day of Kwanzaa. So looking forward to that. And thank you for watching, for listening. Vital Hoops for the people, by the people, for the culture. Uhuru.